Aliens would not need to send a massive fleet to destroy Earth. They would not need to level our cities or fight us face to face. All it would take is one strike. A single electromagnetic pulse, an EMP powerful enough to sweep across the entire planet. An EMP does not kill people directly. It does not level buildings or tear enormous craters into the ground. Instead, it attacks every system keeping us alive. Electricity, communications, GPS, hospitals, water, food distribution. Only after all of these systems disappear would humanity finally understand the truth. Our magnificent civilization was never built on concrete alone. It was balanced, almost impossibly, on tiny electrical signals that no one could see. And cutting those signals would take less than a single blink. One day, an unidentified object appears in space, hundreds of thousands of kilometers from Earth. It slows down, then begins moving toward the planet with deliberate precision. Governments around the world put their nuclear forces on high alert, scramble fighter jets, and prepare for an attack. But the alien object does nothing. No weapons are visible. People watch the spacecraft through live broadcasts, flooding the internet with jokes, memes, and edited videos. Some even begin to believe that the visitors have come in peace. Then, from the center of the spacecraft, a faint light flashes once. There is no explosion, no shockwave, but in that instant, the entire planet is struck by an electromagnetic pulse. Computer screens go dark in Seoul, billboards flicker and die in New York. Subway trains in Tokyo slam to a stop inside their tunnels. Hundreds of millions of smartphones become lifeless slabs of black glass at the exact same moment. The real chaos begins with the sheer unpredictability of the damage. Depending on shielding, wiring, and circuit design, some cars keep running, while in others, only the dashboards go dark. The house next door loses power, while the lights in your own home remain on. No one knows the true scale of the damage. Phones are dead. The internet is gone. There is no way to know whether the government is still functioning or whether your family is safe. The aliens have not attacked a single person. And yet, humanity has been completely cut off from itself. The most advanced technology on Earth becomes a weapon against the people who depend on it. Drivers trapped inside luxury electric cars scream as their electronic locks refuse to respond. Digital door locks, once designed to keep criminals out, turn apartment buildings into prisons for their own residents. Air and sea traffic grind to a halt. Tens of thousands of aircraft vanish from air traffic control screens around the world. Planes that have lost navigation and communications begin diverting toward the nearest airports still able to operate. Too many arrive at once. Runways become scenes of fire, wreckage, and panic. Cargo ships continue drifting across the ocean, but port computer systems and automated cranes are dead. The ships cannot unload. Some cannot even dock safely. The global supply chain does not collapse because the ships are gone. It collapses because the connections between them have been severed. Most people assume that losing GPS would simply mean losing navigation. But navigation is only part of what GPS provides. One of its most critical functions is precise timing. Cell towers, financial networks, and electrical grids all depend on that timing to remain synchronized. They function like gears in one vast, interconnected machine. Once civilization loses its shared sense of time, tiny errors begin to appear. At first, they seem insignificant. Then, the errors grow. Systems drift out of alignment. And slowly, but inevitably, the machine begins tearing itself apart. Voltage fluctuates in one region, triggering protective systems to shut down parts of the grid. The electrical load shifts to neighboring regions. One failure causes another, and city lights disappear in a chain reaction. Even perfectly intact solar panels become useless when the electronic controllers that convert and regulate their power have burned out. Less than an hour after the alien attack ends, humanity faces a brutal question. Who should receive the electricity that remains? Immediately after the blackout, hospital emergency generators roar to life. Lights return to intensive care units, and patients remain connected to ventilators. People tell themselves that the power will be restored soon. but many hospitals have enough emergency fuel to keep their generators running for only 48 hours. Fuel pumps are no longer working, so underground reserves cannot be accessed. Fuel trucks are trapped behind abandoned cars, blocked tunnels, and gridlocked highways. When the generators finally stop, hospital ventilators become nothing more than plastic tubes and silent machines. Modern civilization does not collapse because essential supplies no longer exist. It collapses because those supplies can no longer reach the places where they are needed. You do not have to leave your home for the disaster to find you. The first essential resource to disappear is not your smartphone. It is water. The stream from apartment faucets grows weaker, then stops completely. The pumps that once pushed water upward are dead. In high-rise buildings without elevators, residents carry empty containers down dozens of flights of stairs. But there is no water waiting for them below. As pressure disappears from fire suppression systems, a small electrical fire spreads through an entire building. Wastewater treatment plants shut down as well. Without running water, a high-rise apartment is no longer a home. It is a concrete box that becomes harder to escape with every passing hour. By the next morning, banking servers and payment networks have failed. The money inside people's accounts becomes a string of numbers that no one can verify. Crowds carrying cash rush into supermarkets. But no new supplies are arriving. A bottle of water that cost $1 yesterday now costs 10. Refrigerators stop working. Meat, dairy products, and fresh food begin to rot. Within a single day, enormous quantities of perfectly good food become garbage. That night, the smell of decay spreads across the city. The ability to preserve food dies before the population even begins to starve. 3 days later, the backup batteries inside cell towers are finally drained. Rumors replace information. People hear that electricity has returned somewhere nearby. They hear that the military is distributing food. No one knows whether any of it is true. Tens of thousands of people move in the same direction at once, making the roads even more impassable. Emergency services and government agencies begin abandoning the most dangerous areas, not because they want to, but because they no longer have the personnel, fuel, or communication systems needed to save them. After 1 week, people begin fleeing the cities for the countryside. But modern agriculture is also a vast industrial system. It depends on electricity, fuel, computerized equipment, refrigeration, fertilizer, and reliable supply chains. Even the countryside cannot feed the millions pouring out of the cities. Highways fill with abandoned vehicles that have run out of fuel. Within days, people stop locking their car doors. There is no reason to. Even a supercar worth hundreds of thousands of dollars is nothing more than a heavy piece of metal without fuel, power, or functioning electronics. A month passes. The alien spacecraft is still floating beyond Earth. But there is no second attack. There does not need to be one. Humanity has already torn itself apart. Governments lose control of entire regions. Small survival zones form around power plants, military facilities, and food storage centers. Then comes a strange twist. Analog technology makes a comeback. Stealth aircraft worth hundreds of millions of dollars become useless scrap metal. But mechanical devices preserved in museums, old radio equipment, wind-up clocks, and manually operated machines suddenly become some of humanity's most valuable tools. Maps are drawn on paper again. Records are written by hand. But the romance of the analog world does not last long. Violent conflicts erupt between regions that still have electricity and regions that do not. People begin fighting over food, clean water, medicine, and fuel. Modern humanity has been thrown into the past without preparation, but with one devastating difference. The ancient world never had to support billions of people. Our species would probably not become completely extinct. Small groups would survive in remote rural areas, shielded underground facilities, isolated islands, and protected military bases. Human beings are difficult to erase entirely, but human civilization, as we know it, would be over. Without the communications linking nations together, the food and medicine arriving in cities every day, and the transportation networks crossing oceans and continents, the system cannot survive. The aliens never hunted us. They never destroyed our buildings. They simply understood the invisible connections that made billions of human lives possible. Then, they severed those connections with a single strike, and waited. We like to believe that if the electricity goes out, we can simply light a candle. But in modern civilization, electricity is not merely the energy that keeps the lights on. It is the pulse that makes water flow. It keeps food from rotting. It allows hospitals to keep patients alive. An EMP does not kill people directly. It kills the civilization that was keeping them alive. And once that civilization is gone, only one question remains. If the power went out tonight and never came back, how many days would it take before your home stopped being a home?